It was supposed to be the perfect escape, a peaceful cruise through the icy waters of northern Canada in 2018. I had been working non-stop for months before finally booking this trip. All I wanted was quiet mornings, breathtaking glaciers, and a few peaceful nights under the stars. From the moment I stepped on board, everything felt almost too perfect. The ship was massive, polished, glowing, filled with laughter and music. That first night, I stood on a balcony, watching the ocean stretch endlessly into the mist. The air was sharp, cold, and heavy, carrying something that didn't feel right. By the third night, the atmosphere changed. A thick wall of fog rolled in, swallowing the horizon. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. The captain's voice came through the speakers, calm but uneasy. Due to low visibility, we'll be reducing speed until further notice. That night, when most passengers were asleep, I went to the observation deck. The wind cut through my jacket, and the metallic scent of the sea filled the air. I leaned over the railing, staring into the fog, and that's when I saw it. A dark shape, long and unmoving, drifted just beneath the surface. It wasn't an iceberg or a whale. It was something else. I blinked, and it was gone. But the waves rippled like something massive had just submerged. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, just exhaustion or imagination. The next morning, people were whispering. A couple from a nearby cabin hadn't shown up for breakfast. The staff brushed it off at first, but by noon, security was checking rooms. Their cabin was empty. No luggage, no signs of struggle, just their balcony door wide open, curtains swaying in the cold wind. That entire day, the fog refused to lift. Even the crew seemed uneasy. That night, sleep wouldn't come. Faint footsteps echoed above me, slow and deliberate, like someone pacing on the upper deck. Around 3 a.m., I finally got up to check. The corridors were silent, dimly lit by the ship's blue night lights. I reached the top deck. The cold hit instantly. The fog was so thick I couldn't even see the other side. Then I heard it. A splash, close, heavy. I rushed toward the sound, heart pounding, and stopped at the railing. Something pale floated just below the surface, motionless. It looked like a hand. Before I could react, a hand grabbed my shoulder. A crew member, pale, trembling, whispered, "Get inside." Now, no explanation, no eye contact, just fear. The next morning, an announcement echoed through the halls. For safety reasons, the upper decks will remain closed until further notice. No one mentioned the missing couple again. When the ship finally reached port 2 days later, the fog began to fade, but the air still felt heavy, like whatever was out there had followed us back. When I got home, I searched online for any mention of the incident. Nothing. No missing persons, no reports, as if it had never happened. But sometimes, late at night, when everything is silent, I still hear it, the sound of waves, and that faint splash just below the surface. It happened on the last night of our Caribbean cruise in the summer of 2019. The air was warm, the ocean calm, and everyone on board was in that bittersweet mood that comes before a vacation ends. I remember thinking how peaceful everything felt, how unreal it was to be surrounded by nothing but endless blue water. I was traveling with a few friends from college, and one of them, Liam, had a bad habit of staying up all night exploring the ship. He loved the empty decks, the silence, the the strange calm of being awake when everyone else was asleep. That night, after dinner, he said he wanted to take one last walk around the top deck before turning in. I told him I'd join him later, but I never did. I wish I had. The next morning, his cabin was empty. His bed hadn't been slept in. At first, no one thought much of it. Maybe he had fallen asleep somewhere else after drinking, or met someone during the night. But as the hours passed, that easy confidence started to fade. When he didn't show up for breakfast, we started asking around. The crew checked the lounges, the bars, the pool areas, nothing. By noon, they made an announcement asking all passengers to report if they had seen anyone matching his description. That was when I started to feel it. That quiet, crawling dread that something was very, very wrong. Later that day, one of the cleaning staff told me they had found a single flip-flop on Deck 9 near the railing. The security footage from that area was missing. The camera had gone dark between 2 and 2:30 a.m., the exact time he was last seen. I tried to convince myself he might have just fallen, maybe lost his balance, maybe it was an accident. But deep down, I didn't believe that. The ocean was too calm. He knew those decks like the back of his hand. That night, I couldn't sleep. The ship had grown quiet, almost unnaturally so. Every sound seemed amplified, the creak of metal, the hum of the engines below. I stepped out onto my balcony, staring into the darkness, and that's when I heard it. A voice. It was faint, distant, but it sounded like someone calling my name. It came from the water. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but then it came again, clearer this time, desperate, echoing. I froze, my heart pounding. The voice was Liam's. I know it was. I ran to the door, ready to call for help, but when I looked back over the railing, the sound stopped. The ocean was still, perfectly still. The next morning, the captain made an announcement. Due to an unfortunate incident, we would be arriving early at port. No details were given. No one spoke about it openly, but everyone knew. The crew avoided eye contact. The passengers whispered. When we finally docked, officers came aboard. They questioned everyone who knew him. I told them everything. The late-night walks, the missing footage, the voice. They wrote it all down, but I could tell they didn't believe me. A week later, the cruise line released a statement saying there was no evidence of foul play and that it was being treated as an accident, but no body was ever found. Even now, years later, I still dream about that night. I see the black ocean, endless and cold, and somewhere in the distance, I hear his voice, calling my name from below the waves. The cruise had been perfect so far. Calm seas, warm nights, endless food, and nothing but laughter and relaxation. It was the spring of 2021, somewhere off the coast of southern Italy, and for once, life actually felt peaceful. On the fifth night, after dinner and a few drinks, I decided to visit the upper deck jacuzzi. It was nearly midnight, and most passengers were already asleep. The deck was quiet, the lights dimmed, and the soft hum of the ship's engines blended with the sound of distant waves. It felt like the world had stopped moving. When I reached the jacuzzi area, it was empty. The water glowed faintly under the blue lights, steaming in the cool night air. I slipped in, closed my eyes, and let the warmth wash over me. It was perfect. The kind of peace you don't realize you've missed until it's gone. A few minutes later, I thought I heard something, a splash, faint and distant. I opened my eyes and looked around, but no one was there. The pool area behind me was dark, and the other jacuzzis were empty. I brushed it off and leaned back again. Then I felt it. A soft ripple moved through the water, gentle at first, then stronger. I sat up, heart thumping, scanning the surface. The water looked normal, calm, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was just beneath me. I tried to laugh it off. Maybe it was the ship's vibration or the current from the filters. Still, I couldn't relax. The air suddenly felt heavier, colder. Then, out of nowhere, the lights flickered. Just once. A quick dim, then back to normal. I glanced toward the door, leading back inside, expecting someone to walk through, but no one did. That's when I saw it. A hand, pale, almost white, pressed against the inside wall of the jacuzzi. It wasn't mine. It moved slowly upward, fingers dragging through the water. I froze. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. The hand disappeared for a moment, then reappeared closer, reaching, pushing against the surface from below. I jumped out, stumbling backward, nearly slipping on the wet deck. My towel fell, but I didn't care. I stared into the bubbling water, and for a split second, I saw a face, eyes open, mouth moving soundlessly, before it vanished beneath the foam. I ran. I didn't stop until I reached my cabin, slammed the door shut, and locked it. My breathing was ragged, my heart hammering in my chest. I kept telling myself it had to be my imagination, maybe a trick of the lights, or shadows, or exhaustion. But deep down, I knew what I saw. The next morning, I went back to the deck. The area was closed off. A yellow sign read, "Maintenance, do not enter." No one was around. I asked one of the crew what happened, and he looked at me like I'd said something I shouldn't have. He whispered, "It's better not to ask," and walked away. Later that day, the captain made a short announcement over the intercom, thanking everyone for their cooperation during a minor technical inspection. No details, no explanation. When the cruise ended and I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about that night. I searched online, trying to find anything. Maybe an accident, a past incident, something that would explain what I saw. There was nothing. Not a single word about any deaths or disappearances on that ship. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can still see that pale hand pressing against the water, as if something down there was trying to reach the surface again. My name is Liam, and I'm 12 years old. This happened last summer, in July 2019, when my family went on vacation to the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina. We stayed at the Highland Peaks Resort, a real place with indoor water parks and beautiful mountain views. My parents, Olivia and David, thought it would be fun for me and my younger brother Max, who's 8. The hotel was massive, with rooms overlooking green hills and a small creek running through the property. At night, you could hear the water flowing, and during the day, sunlight made everything look peaceful. We were excited because it was our first big trip since Dad had started his new job. We drove up from Virginia, about 3 hours, and checked in on a Friday afternoon. The lobby was full of families carrying bags and kids running around. Our room was on the 3rd floor with a balcony facing the hills. Mom said it was perfect for relaxing. Max and I shared a bed, and there was a small kitchen area with a fridge. The first thing we did was head to the outdoor pool because the weather was hot, around 85 degrees Fahrenheit. The pool area had lounge chairs, umbrellas, and a view of the creek below the hill. Pine trees were everywhere, and birds chirped. It felt like a postcard. Max and I loved swimming. He's not as good as I am, but he can doggy paddle. We splashed around playing Marco Polo. That's when I first noticed the man. He was sitting on a chair at the edge of the pool, wearing sunglasses, a plain white t-shirt, and cargo shorts. He looked about 40 with short brown hair and a mustache. He wasn't swimming or with anyone, he just sat there watching. At first, I thought he was a lifeguard or something, but he didn't have a uniform. Max whispered, "That guy's staring at us." I shrugged, but it felt weird. Every time we got out to jump back in, his head turned toward us. The next day, Saturday, we returned to the pool after breakfast. Pancakes from the hotel buffet, a bit soggy but okay. The man was there again in the same spot. This time he had a newspaper, but he barely looked at it. Max pointed him out, and I told him to ignore it. Maybe the guy was just alone on vacation. Mom and Dad were reading on their chairs, not paying attention. We played for hours, and the man didn't move. When we left for lunch at the hotel's pizza place, I looked back. He was gone. Sunday was similar. We explored the indoor water park in the morning, slides, lazy river, everything. But in the afternoon, back to the outdoor pool. Guess who was there? The man. Creepy now. Max said, "Liam, he's following us." I laughed, but inside I felt uneasy. He never talked to anyone, just watched, especially us. Once when Max dropped his towel near him, he picked it up and handed it back with a smile. Max said thanks and ran to me. Max told me he smelled like cigarettes. That night, while eating burgers in the room, I told Mom about it. She said, "Probably just a guest. Stay close." Dad agreed. People are weird sometimes. Monday evening is when things went wrong. We'd spent the day hiking a short trail near the hotel. Views were amazing, rolling hills, sparkling streams. We saw deer and squirrels. Back at the hotel, Max and I were bored after dinner. Mom and Dad were watching TV in the room. We asked if we could play hide-and-seek in the hallways. The hotel has long carpeted corridors with vending machines. Mom said, "Okay, but only on our floor. Don't go far. Back in 30 minutes. I was the seeker first. Max ran giggling while I counted to 50 by the elevator. The hallway was quiet. I started checking behind the ice machine and alcoves by the stairs. "No, Max," I called softly, not wanting to bother anyone. After a few minutes, I checked the end of the hall near the emergency exit. My heart started beating faster. 10 minutes passed. Still, no Max. I went back to our room and knocked. Mom opened the door. "Where's Max?" I asked. He hadn't come back. Dad got up, and we all started searching. Hallway, stairs, vending area. Nothing. We went down to the lobby, thinking maybe Max had taken the elevator by mistake. The front desk lady, wearing a name tag that said Karen, said she hadn't seen a kid alone. My stomach felt sick. Max wouldn't wander off. He's scared of getting lost. We checked the pool area even though it was closed, lights off, water still. Then the arcade room. Kids were playing, but no Max. Mom was crying. Dad called hotel security. 2 uniformed men came, asked for Max's description: short brown hair, blue t-shirt, short sneakers. They searched the grounds with flashlights along the creek path. The hills looked dark, not beautiful. Crickets chirped loudly. An hour later, still no sign. Dad called the police. 2 officers arrived. One male, one female. They took statements. I told them about the man at the pool, always watching us. They asked for a description. Mustache, white t-shirt, about 5 feet 10 inches. Checking the hotel registry, they found a guest matching that. Robert Hayes, room 215 second floor, checked in alone from out of state. The police and hotel security went to his room. Mom, Dad, and I waited in the lobby. I hugged Mom, hands shaking. After what felt like forever, we heard shouting and running upstairs. The female officer came down on the radio. "We found the boy," she said. Inside room 215, Hayes opened the door calmly. When asked to look inside, he got nervous. They pushed in, and in the closet, Max was tied up, duct tape over his mouth, hands bound with zip ties. He was scared, but okay. No injuries. Hayes had grabbed him during hide-and-seek, covered his mouth, dragged him to his room, and threatened, "Be quiet, or I'll hurt you." When the police found Max, Hayes freaked out, pulled a kitchen knife from his bag, and lunged at the male officer. They tackled him to the ground. He fought, but the officers pinned him, cuffed him, and called for backup. Max cried. I hugged him tight. The police took Hayes away. Turns out he had prior arrests for stalking kids in Ohio and Virginia. He wasn't supposed to be near children. The hotel apologized, comped our stay. We left the next day, drove home in silence. Max had nightmares for weeks, and I couldn't sleep without checking the doors. Looking back, the hills and creek don't seem beautiful anymore. That vacation taught me the world has real monsters.